Hello travelers, Boardman21 here, and today's build is the Serpent Strike Beastmaster, and with this, it's going to be you doing most of the damage. You're going to have a Scorpion to help you put some stacks of poison on. It'll do quite a bit of damage for itself. It will be a solo companion, and then the synergies inside of this build is going to be that we're using Eterra's Blessing on the Scorpion to give both of us 150% increased poison chance. We're going to have Frenzy Totem that gives us some poison chance as well as a lot of attack speed. Warcry is obviously going to give us a ton of attack speed. It gives you some flat damage as well, but we're not really building into flat damage at all. And then, of course, you have Serpent Strike, which is going to attack very fast. It's going to apply a ton of poison, especially since we're stacking a lot of dex, which gives you increased amount of poison chance per point of dex that you have. And then all of that leads to us doing a ton of poison damage and having a ton of DPS, but the main problem, of course, is going to be your survivability. So we built into just having a ton of resistance, having some damage reduction, and then the only form of leech that we could get for dot poison damage was, of course, using the Bleeding Heart to leech some of the damage of all damage that we do, and that's how we're going to get our main survivability. Now, the main reason for this build is it's been a while since I played around with Serpent Strike, so we were seeing some good ways to build it, especially starting to theory craft some ways not to have to use a polearm with it. We can't do that yet, but when we get Swarm Blade, we're going to definitely be able to do that. Serpent Strike skill tree might change a little bit. We're not sure 100% about that, but this is a good way to kind of get a feel for it and some things that you'll be able to do while you are in Transformative Swarm Blade next patch. This does a ton of damage, like I said. You can go through echoes pretty fast with it. It's a major boss killer. It's pretty good if you don't have to move around a whole lot. And of course, the best thing about it is since you're leeching that poison damage and can apply a lot of poison per hit, you can hit an enemy a couple of times and then just run away and leech some of that damage as it dies, because you'll have increased poison duration, so you'll have like a full 8 seconds of leech after you've hit an enemy a couple of times, which is really nice. But let's go ahead and get into the skills and exactly how this build works. For skills, I'm running it Summon Scorpion, Summon Frenzy Totem, Serpent Strike, Warcry, and Eterra's Blessing. For Summon Scorpion, we use this because we can get a lot of poison out of the Scorpion. We can have the little baby Scorpion, so it's really many minions inside of one. And then on top of that, Eterra's Blessing gives you increased poison chance on hit if you hit your Scorpion with it. So both of you get increased poison chance with it, which is a really big synergy because you're attacking so fast with Serpent Strike, especially if you get some stacks of Aspect of the Shark. That at 150% extra poison chance is a lot of extra poison damage and really allows you to maximize upon it. So we got 2 points in Concoction for some poison chance for the Scorpion, 1 point in Blood Poisoning, 4 points in Noxious Carapace for the extra poison damage or the more poison damage, 3 points in Steel Carapace, 3 points in Maternal Instinct so that you can have 3 baby Scorpions, 1 point in Temper Tantrum so that the baby Scorpions deal more damage and have poison chance, 2 points in Fertility Writs, so the baby Scorpions are summoned more frequently. This takes it from 10 seconds down to every 5 seconds. The reason that this is important is when you get into higher Corruption or higher Arena, it means that those baby Scorpions, if they go down, be resummoned really quickly. I noticed that they weren't dying, though, in Rhaegor Empowered content. At Rhaegor Corruption from 100 to 150, they didn't die at all for me. So they have some life, they're going to have some regen, and they're going to survive quite well, especially since they have a bit of leech of their own. And then we have 4 points in Scurry, which gives them 60% increased move speed and attack speed, which is really big for them. When you have Frenzy Totem and Aspect of the Shark on them, as well as the Aspect of the Viper for attack speed, and then this attack speed on top of it, they attack very, very, very fast. For Summon Frenzy Totem, we just have this set up so that we'll gain haste after we cast it. We get some poison chance, and then we get as much attack speed as possible. Some points you can move around to however you'd like to. I've got 4 points of Rapidity, so you have that increased Frenzy effect, 5 points from Revitalizing Totem, so you have increased health regen, 5 points in Venomous Intent for that global poison chance. The rest of it you can place wherever you want. I have 1 point in Symbol of Haste, and 5 points in Reinforced Totem. Then for Serpent Strike, which will be our main damaging skill, there's a couple of things that I wanted to get into this. Now, a lot of people like to build into Chrono Strike for that global damage over time, and remember the stacks for every time that you use it, which can really boost your damage. However, we were getting a ton of damage without using this, and what this also meant is that I didn't have to put the 1 point in Venomous Intent to reduce the poison duration by 35%. The reason this was important is it allowed me to get only poison duration increases which allows you to stack more poisons overall, even though we weren't getting the global damage over time, which 50% global damage over time, if you keep stacking that, you do 20 attacks in 4 seconds, that's 1,000% extra damage over time. That's a lot of damage. However, it was more damaging to not reduce that duration, but instead put points in increasing it. So we can get another 60% ailment duration over here, on top of 2 points for armor shred chance, and those 6 points would have had to have been spent to max this out. So we actually got more out of increasing the duration by 60 instead of overall reducing it by 35. So we have 5 points in 𝐒𝐭𝐤𝐬 Venom. This gives you 50% increased poison chance and 50% poison duration. If you add in the 4 points in Fester for 60% ailment duration, that means that your poisons have 110% increased duration, putting them at around 8.4 seconds or so, which is a lot of extra time for those stacks of poison and allows you to stack more of them, taking advantage of the 5% increased damage the target takes from poison for every stack that you have on them. Then we have 2 points in Plague Bear, 5 points in Scorpion Strikes for that increased global poison damage. That means we get 60% poison damage every time that we use Serpent Strike. This stacks up for every time we've used it in the last 4 seconds, so attack speed is very important for getting very high damage. 3 points in Spear Flurry for that attack speed, and that'll round out this tree. You will notice I did not take the kill threshold. If you want to move some points around, you can. It's kind of, you'd have to lose some duration and poison chance to get that kill threshold. But what I have noticed is if you're attacking a target, by the time you get down to that last 24%, you've stacked so much poison on them that that last chunk is going to disappear in one tick anyways, as long as you keep attacking. That's why you'll notice in bosses, the last 24% of their health goes the fastest. So that's why I stayed away from the kill threshold. For Warcry, we have this set up to go off every 5 seconds so that we can take advantage of it, and we're just using it for poison chance, and we're also using it for the increased attack speed. You can get 60% attack speed with this, so that's pretty crazy. You got 1 point in Staggering War, 1 point in Kinetic Scream, 2 points in Shredding Howl, 1 point in Shallow Breath, so that we can use it every 5 seconds. 1 point in Juggernaut, 1 point in Berserker, 4 points in Brutality, and 3 points in Fury Strikes, which gives you up to that maximum attack speed of 60%, which is huge. 1 point in Deep War, 1 point in Debilitating Shout, and 4 points in Toxic Companions gives your Scorpion 80% increased poison chance. That's why the Scorpion is also used. This is another synergy for it on top of Eterra's Blessing. And then for Eterra's Blessing, we have 5 points in Safeguard, which gives us 75% increased elemental resist and poison resist. You can get all of your elemental and poison resist if you cast Eterra's Blessing on yourself every 4 seconds. Nobody's going to do that because it's almost impossible to remember, and having to spam it on you and your Scorpion means you'd have to be casting it every 2 seconds. So make sure to get your elemental and poison resist, although if you don't cap them and you anticipate damage, you can cast Eterra's Blessing on yourself, healing you and giving you those resistances, but it is really nice to keep hitting your Scorpion with it and giving your Scorpion the resistances, which allows your Scorpion to survive much better as well. 1 point in Natural Affinity, which means your companion, in this case the Scorpion, will not be able to be stunned, and 5 points in Caustic Renewal gives you and the companion 150% poison chance. If you've used it on your Scorpion, you get that for 4 seconds. Then we have 5 points in Ardent Touch, giving your minion 30% increased attack speed, and 4 points of Binding Heal heals us even if we're using it on the Scorpion. So we both get healed, they'll get the resistance, you both get the poison chance, and they get the attack speed. So lots of buffs coming from using Eterra's Blessing. For passives, I've got 20 points in the Primalist base class with 6 points in Gift of the Wilderness, 8 points in Natural Attunement, 5 points in Hunter's Restoration, and 1 point in Primal Strength. 0 points in the Shaman, 0 points in the Druid, and 90 points in the Mastered Beastmaster, with 8 points in Yearsane Strength, 4 points in Boarheart, 1 point in Artist Loyalty, 1 point in Salvagey, 1 point in Ambush, 1 point in Rending Maul, 3 points in Hunters of the Deep, 5 points in the Circle of Life, 1 point in Dragon Slayer, 8 points in Ocean Maul, 1 point in Feeding Frenzy. I did not go for any of the increased duration because you don't need this anymore. Basically what they did when they hard capped the amount of aspect of the shark that you could have on your character, now it's only 10 stacks max, that meant the duration was now useless because you can get those 10 stacks when you're actually attacking rares or bosses so quickly that you don't need any increased duration, because we used to go for as much duration as possible so we could get to 50, 60, or 70 stacks and do absolutely crazy astronomical damage and attack speed. You can't do that anymore. The duration has become useless. Spend these 10 points elsewhere. we got 1 point in Primal Strength, 5 points in Porcine Constitution, 4 points in Boarheart, 8 points in Life in the Wilderness, 5 points in Any Venom for that melee poison chance for us and for our minion as well, 10 points in Viper Fangs, and 10 points in Rattlesnake, which gives you that increased poison effect with Aspect of the Viper, and Aspect of the Viper will give you that 100% poison chance as well as increased damage over time. And this node itself gives you 50% increased attack speed, which is huge for the build. And then the last point in Natural Bond, just for more companion health and damage, since we do have only the one companion. Alright, for idols, blessings, uniques, and of course our gear, we have only one unique. The one unique that you will pretty much need for this build, unless you build into health regen, is the Bleeding Heart. This will give you up to 9% of all damage that you do leech this health, and this allows for you to leech a good portion of that poison damage. And what's nice about poison damage is you can leave the target halfway, and you'll still be leeching because your damage will continue on until that target dies, or for 8.4 seconds, which is how long the poison duration is for you in this build. And then the rest of our gear, we don't have anything special on this. You're basically stacking as much dex, and if you can get increased Aspect of the Viper effect on the chest and helm, that's all we're worried about. After that, just stack as much health and make sure that you get as much health regen that you can, and get as much of your resistances covered as you can. You want your critical strike avoidance, you want all your resistance, and then you just want as much health as possible. You can build into health regen if you like. It is nice to get quite a bit of that. You can put that on the boots, the helm, and the chest, but you will lose out on either dexterity, or you will lose out on the vitality that you could put there, or the increased Aspect of the Viper effect. But you can build into it if you'd like. I thought about running for the belt. There's a unique that you can use. I will link it in the written guide. If you have one, you can put it on. They can give you like 25, 26 flat health regen per second. Having that and stacking some vitality into the build, along with maybe a couple of health regeneration affixes, can get you going with a couple to 300 health per second, which is going to feel really good, especially in early empowered content, until you have the Bleeding Heart for that leech, and both of them together will be really helpful. The rest of these I'll just hover over, but of course the build planner will be in the description below as well as in the written guide. For idols, nothing too special, but you can get these beautiful 1x3 hybrids that give you a chance to poison on hit as well as increase Aspect of the Viper effect. They are pretty rare. I've only got 2 of them. You can wear up to 4 of these on the build. And then for the 1x2s, going for the hybrid health to get as much health as possible, as getting as much maximum health as possible is going to give you 2 things: a higher EHP against one-shots, and then 2, it raises that endurance threshold so that you can take, even more damage if you need be while you're waiting for that leech to take effect. For blessings, nothing special. This build does not revolve around any blessings at all. Feel free to get any blessings you want. Unfortunately, there is no blessing for dot damage. You can leech throwing damage, spell damage, hit damage, but there is no leech for dot damage or poison damage. So unfortunately, we can't get any leech there. But you can get your endurance, your critical strike avoidance, endurance threshold, some resistances if you need. You can get all of that through your blessings if need be. For the character sheet, you can see we're sitting at just over 3,200 health. A lot of that is coming from those hybrid health idols, as I'm wearing 4 of them since I didn't have 4 of the 1x3s for the poison chance and the increased effective Aspect of the Viper. For resistance, we're missing a little bit of necrotic. We're missing some fire and lightning. I really want to get some fire on. I'm probably going to switch my boots to the fire base so that I can get more fire and lose some of the cold. I have the wrong base type for that. But this is where we're sitting at. Again, don't forget, when you do use Eterra's Blessing, if you use it on yourself, it'll cap that and poison for you. So if you want to work around that for a while until you get it going, you can. But again, you will have to put that on yourself every 4 seconds. I do hate that you can take the nodes where it heals you at the beginning and heals you again at the end of that 4-second duration, but that doesn't reapply the elemental resist. It would be really cool if it did. Then you could technically go once every 8 seconds with doing it, which would be a lot more manageable. Once every 4 seconds, way too often. Then you can see for armor, we got about 21%. We have a little bit of dodge, but we're not building into it. You could run Maelstrom instead of, say, Frenzy Totem or Eterra's Blessing if you wanted, but they're really not going to be the best choice. But you can get a lot more dodge and healing per second if you do that, and you will be more defensive. You're not using your mana for anything else anyways. Got 128% melee attack speed. That's going to go up as we have Aspect of the Shark. That's going to go up as we have Berserker. That's going to go up as we have Frenzy Totem. All of those are going to give you a nice big boost for that attack speed. And then again, our damage over time, 270%. We'll get a free 100% when we hit a, the train damage or hit an enemy for that aspect of the Viper. And then for our poison damage, you can see here, we actually have 0% poison damage. We didn't build any on gear. We didn't build any poison damage in our passives. There's no poison damage. And yet we're still going to do 2.5 million damage with this. We only have 53 points of dex. Each point of dex is going to give you that increased chance to poison on melee hit, thanks to Serpent Strike's ability, where its mechanic built into it. It also gives you increased damage, which is increased poison damage that you're doing because you're applying it with this skill as well. Don't forget, Serpent Strike comes with a basic chance of 140% to poison on hit. So this right here, just the tree or just the skill itself is giving us a total of 352% chance to poison. It is possible to get even more dex. I have no exalted gear. You can easily, not quite double this, but you could get 70 to 80 points in a min-max version of the build if you got some tier 6, tier 7 affixes of dexterity in there. And that's going to give you another 100% chance to poison. For defense, we don't have endurance capped for this in the gameplay, but we do have the critical strike avoidance. And then we do have some extra endurance threshold, thanks in part due to that fact that we have so much health. And then for how to play this build and the skill rotation, first you're going to summon out your good old Scorpion. It's going to summon the babies. The babies won't attack the training dummies, so technically that would be a little bit more damage if we could get them to, but they won't here. And then what I like to do is you really don't have to use Warcry or Frenzy Totem or Eterra's Blessing for trash mobs. So you can just get into the fight and just attacking with Serpent Strike and having your minion attack. Again, the baby scorpions are not going to do anything here, but in the actual game, when you have actual enemies, they will attack. You can see we're doing 800, 900,000, almost 1 million damage ticks are going in there from just us basically attacking. We don't have Eterra's Blessing, Frenzy, or Warcry going. Now, if we get those attacks going and then you throw down a Warcry so you can start getting that attack speed boost, you'll see here that we're going to go well over that million damage. Now we're at 1 million right now. We'll probably get somewhere between 1 million. There's 1,000,003, 1,000,004. That's about where we'll sit with that. And then if you throw down a Frenzy Totem for even more attack speed, this will get you in the high ones. And then if you throw down the Eterra's Blessing on your Scorpion, that's what's really going to do it. And it's going to push you over that 2 million right there. 2.6 million, 2.7, 2.8 million damage. Absolutely crazy. You can see the training dummy's health is starting to go down. The amount of single target damage with this build is ridiculous. It is a lot of poison damage. And of course, you're leeching up to 9% of that thanks to the Bleeding Heart, which is really big for the build. For leveling this build, you unlock Serpent Strike as soon as you get 20 points into the passive Primalist class. As soon as you get Serpent Strike, you can get the Scorpion with a few points into the Beastmaster. You're going to start doing great damage right off the bat. You just start building into dex on your gear, even if it's just a few points. Start building into health. The main problem you will encounter, if you do not have the unique, the Bleeding Heart, you're not going to have any sources of leech. Your hit damage will give you some leech if you build into some hit damage leech, but as you get further and further in, your hit damage is going to go down since the enemies will have damage reduction, and the poison will be what's doing all of the damage, and so you won't be leeching as much. It won't be so bad until you get to empowered content when you start taking big damage and need to replenish your health faster, and that's when you're going to need the Bleeding Heart at the least point. But you can wear Bleeding Heart at a very low level, so if you have one, they are a very common item. Throw it on, and you can level with this build no problem right off the bat. Just go ahead and get your Scorpion as soon as you can. By level 20, it should be taking off for you. You can start with just doing a two-handed weapon, maybe use Swipe and use your Wolves to get up to level 20, but it'll go really quick, and then just switch over to the Scorpion and Serpent Strike, and you can level the whole time with it. That's going to be it for this build guide. I hope you guys enjoyed it. As always, stay safe and enjoy some gameplay.
Not die here.
eternity of pain, unchanged gods. All will be erased. Flesh is temporary. My chains return, but what of you?